Hi there and hello again to return viewers. You're watching the Christchurch review of books and I'm Kerry. Today a slightly delayed April book haul. Now there's a lot to get through as usual because I've been spending like a drunken sailor once again. Now first of all, you may notice the visuals look a little different. I am trying out a different camera, a fancier camera with more horribly complicated settings. I tried setting it on manual to record this in glorious 4K and my computer would choke at the results. So I have had to go into the settings and have a look and fiddle with various things until I got something which was usable. Hopefully it's still usable by the time I've finished recording all of this, because this will be a massive waste of time otherwise, and of course isn't technology wonderful. Okay, so like I said, April, another bumper crop, the majority of which probably have been the Taschen All-American Advert series, which have been trickling in. I oops, hit the camera then. I pulled the trigger, like I said in the last book haul, on buying the entire series of these books. There's 8 or 9 of them at the moment, so they came in dribs and drabs from all over. Some of them were shipped from Australia, some of them were shipped from the United States, and some of them were shipped from the UK. So in no particular order, we have this one. This is the 1980s with the very 1980s artwork on it. What else have we got here? Ooh. 1940s. On the back it says Colourful Capitalism, so that's got a nice, sleek, streamlined train on it. 2000s with a wind turbine on the front with a polar bear, and this one says Ads in the Digital Dawn. Sorry, I'm going on and off camera, so it might be disconcerting. Okay, 1970s. Now this is the one I've actually looked through. A lot of them I've just put them in storage right away. I haven't had time to look at them. So 70s is lots of groovy, funky adverts. Things like pantsuits, jumpsuits, 70s bicycles like the Chopper, and some crazy albums by celebrities, all that goodness. So that's the 1970s All-American Ads. And coming up behind there is 1990s. Now this one is one I actually have looked at before because the local library has a copy of this one, so this is it. And lastly, the latest one in the series was just released in April. This is the 1930s. Hard Times, Hard Sales is on the tagline on the back. Now this one's so new, I haven't even taken out of its plastic wrapper yet. Only arrived last week. Eventually I'll get around to reading all these, well, reading it as such. There's a little bit of commentary in them about the times and trends of the advertising in the decade in question, but mainly it's just page after page of fantastically reproduced images of advertising of the period in magazines and so on. So that's the All-American Advert series. Okay, another book that arrived recently is this one, World Radio Television Handbook 2026. So this is the 80th edition, if you can believe it. This has been going since the early 20th century. And this is the final print edition. I actually missed out on getting a special edition hardcover, which was prohibitively expensive, and I just didn't have the money at the time. So this is the last version of this venerable institution, which is being published on paper. Apparently it's going all digital from next year. I actually tried the digital version a couple of years ago and I was a bit disappointed in the format. They had like an ebook version, but it was split into about 50 parts, which made it very cumbersome to read and look through on a normal ebook reader. So this is the paper edition. I'm not doing a lot of shortwave listening these days, basically, but it's a handy guide, and like I said, it's the final paper edition. This has been a book which has touched parts of my life, my hobbies and my interests, so it's nice to have a copy of the very last one that's coming out. Okay, so earlier this month when I was reading The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, I did a review of that recently. Kind of fired up the desire about to know more and experience more of the classics and all that type of thing. So along those lines, I picked up a couple of books I've been meaning to pick up for a long time, and this is the Emily Wilson translations of the 2 Homer books. This is the Iliad and like I said in the other video, the blockbuster sequel to the Iliad, the Odyssey. Emily Wilson is said to have been a fantastic translator of these, brought the epic poems into the modern era, basically. The previously bog standard translations were the Fagles ones, which have been around, I think, since the 60s. Now this one apparently is more contemporary, more understandable by students of today. So be interested to read these. Like I said, I had my interest piqued by reading the Song of Achilles, so I want to go back to the source, really. And along those lines also, Son of Nobody by Jan Martel, famous author of The Life of Pi. This is a book about a previously unknown work about the Trojan War being discovered, and it's got these meta layers about the translator who discovers it, trying to leave a message in the translation for his daughter, I believe, or something like that. And we also jump into the work itself that he's translated and live that story. Okay, so this camera has given me a warning message for some reason, probably temperature overheating or something like that. Oh dear. Well, let's hope we get to the end of it. Okay, so 3 books I picked up from Book Hero, the New Zealand online bookseller. They were having a sale on pop culture and science fiction books. So the first one is a book which is fairly well known at the moment. It is Automatic Noodle by Annalee Newitz. This is one of the current cozy speculative fiction books. It's about a future California where a bunch of robots run a noodle shop, and all that pertains to that. I don't know a great deal about it, but people have mixed feelings. Well, that was rude. The camera did indeed shut off due to temperature issues. I have changed the settings so it doesn't do that quite so quickly. Anyway, in case that last bit didn't get recorded, the book was Automatic Noodle by Annalee Newitz. It's a story about future California where robots run a noodle shop, and it's one of these cozy things, so it's not high stakes, it's just, I don't know, enjoyable fun for people, fluff as you might call it. So that is Automatic Noodle. And the other 2 books I got from Book Hero, this one, Halcyon Years by the venerable Alistair Reynolds. This is his latest one, and it is some type of mystery caper thing. It's set on board a generational starship, and the guy doing the investigating is one Yuri Gagarin. Sounds intriguing, doesn't it? So that is Halcyon Years by Alistair Reynolds. And the last one last book I bought from Book Hero is The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. And this is something about alternate universes. I think the big hook on this one is that you can travel to other alternate universes, but you have to be dead in them to do in that universe. Your the person that is you in the other universe has to be dead so you can move into that universe, I'm trying to say. So that is The Space Between Worlds. Okay, so getting into home straight now. Last week I went and had a look at Steadfast Books over in Addington. I hadn't been there for a while. I actually made a bit of a screw up and tried to go over there early on Saturday, but Saturday was the 25th of April here, which is legally is the Anzac Day holiday, so shops are not allowed to open till 1 p.m. So I spent a bit of time in cafes waiting for 1 p.m. to roll about. And so when I did get over to Steadfast Book, I had a look in there and picked up 4 books. Now this one is the Compleat Riflemen Harris. It's a reprint of an old document about the Napoleonic Wars, the Peninsular War in particular, in Spain and Portugal, British troops fighting there. This is kind of like an account of that by a soldier in the 95th Rifles, that famous outfit made famous by the fictional rifleman Sharp by Bernard Cornwell. Also there... You have new mail. Oh, nice of my computer to interrupt. Also there, Aspects by John M. Ford. Now this is the final novel by this author. He's a bit of an author's author. I don't know a huge amount about his work. I've heard of his work. He did all sorts of stuff from speculative fiction, science fiction, fantasy. He wrote a couple of Star Trek novelizations back when those things were unusual. Apparently he died in the early 2000s, and this was kind of like a manuscript which was left behind when he died, and it's only been more recently published. And it has the obligatory introduction by Neil Gaiman in it for better or worse. So it is a story of a fictional country, nation, and its development of culture and democracy, with a set against a love story apparently. And this book is not finished, so it has notes at the end saying we don't know how the author was going to finish this. So here's some scraps of his notes. So that is Aspects by John M. Ford. Another odd one is Venus on the Half Shell, and this is a fairly scarce, not often encountered book, which is a book by the author Philip Jose Farmer, writing as one Kilgore Trout. Now, Kilgore Trout was a character referenced in Kurt Vonnegut's fiction. He's kind of like a sleazy science fiction author of the 1970s, which is kind of the butt of jokes and what have you, and references in Kurt Vonnegut's stories. And this is Philip Jose's Farmer has taken up the mantle to write as that character. Know very little about the story. It's kind of pulpy science fiction type thing. I'm not sure how serious it takes itself. Probably not very, going by that cover photo. So that is Venus on the Half Shell. I hadn't ever sort of physical copy of this before. I thought it was quite hard to come by. So Steadfast had a copy there. And last of all, How to Listen to Pop Music by Nick Bollinger. And this is a book from about 20 years ago. There was a series of these, the Ginger series, little thin guidebooks by New Zealand authors. They ostensibly purport to be what they title say. This one's about how to listen to pop music, and there's another one I've got by Steve Brummius, How to Watch a Bird, and so on. They kind of like skim over the actual topic, and they're more meditations or essays or something by the particular authors of the time. Now this one's by Nick Bollinger, who is a fairly famous music journalist from New Zealand, whose work I became familiar with when he did programs and so on Radio New Zealand. He's a very familiar name in New Zealand broadcasting. So this is his story about his love of pop music. Okay, so I think we haven't got much to go now. So after reading World Appears by Michael Pollan, I found a reference in there to this idiosyncratic, supposedly, books by John Horgan. John Horgan's a science writer. He seems to self-publish a lot of books at the moment. That's how you can get hold of them. This one's called Mind-Body Problems. And despite my misgivings about A World Appear being a standard talk to a scientist and so on, this is pretty much what this book is. This looks at the mind-body consciousness problem in the form of, I think, 6 or 9 little essays about a particular scientist and how their struggles in life or whatever shaped their view about the consciousness, mind-body thing. It's very interesting so far. There's some dramatic stuff that these people have been through and how they claim it hasn't affected their scientific work, but it definitely has. So that is Mind-Body Problems by John Horgan. Another one that came in the mail from Blackwell's in the UK is this one, the Obake Code. I think I'm pronounced that right. This is a sequel to Hammerjung Luck, which I read last year. That was a kind of a sci-fi, cyberpunky heist caper. Wasn't entirely successful in my opinion, but I enjoyed being in that world. Didn't kind of use the setting to its advantage. Just kind of told a very like contemporary, our present day story, but it was set in the future, and it kind of didn't really take advantage of that. This is a sequel of sorts, which focuses on one of the characters that was introduced in the Hammerjung Luck book, and this is about basically a young female hacker who gets tasked to do a big job in the evil corporate future on board the space colony, which Hammerjung Luck took place on as well. So that is the Obake Code by Makana Yamamoto. Last of all, a book which arrived just 2 days ago. I bought this off eBay, which is not a usual place that I buy my books from, but I followed a link there. And this is The 7 Penny Nightmare by Steve Holland, all about the old Action comic from the 1970s. Now, I never read Action comic at the time, but I remember seeing it on the shelves of shops, and for many years after in the second-hand bookshops, which I visited frequently. The main draw to me is that Action was like a predecessor to 2000 AD. 2000 AD, the sci-fi anthology comic from the late 70s, which is still going, was very, very influential in my taste towards fiction, politics, science fiction, all sorts of things. I read it from I was about 9 or 10. Still have subscriptions to it or read its content today, basically. You know, it was that influential on me, and it kind of created an entire generation of what we call today content creators or something, who created comics and novels and you know, just made attitudes in a whole generation of people. And Action was like the predecessor, and it's infamous or most famous for being ultra violent and not perhaps not totally suitable for its target audience, which was young children. Published a lot of violent stuff, and I basically got whacked over the hand for it. There we go, just hit the tripod again. Got whacked over the hand for it, and questions were asked in Parliament, etc. So that is Seven Penny Nightmare. It's basically the history of Action comic, and it is massively illustrated by stuff from Action comic in the time period in question. So I think that is pretty much it. I hope I haven't raced through this too quickly. I'm going to have to piece these videos together now, seeing the camera overheated. So I'll get on with it and hopefully get this video out today. Alright, hopefully, like I said, this video actually works properly and looks nice. It is 4K. I'm not used to dealing with 4K, and I didn't have a shave this morning, so you'll probably see my grotty looking visage through this video. Apologies for that. Alright, I'll let it go now. See you next time.